To stay undefeated in the preseason. We're talking winners, losers, position battles, and more, all coming up on the Locked On Vikings postcast.
You are Locked On Vikings postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? What's up? Back in the lab, back at it. The final preseason postcast of the Vikings 2024 season right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman, Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings, Ron Johnson, host of the Ron Johnson Show. A lot to unpack, a lot to get into in these next 30 minutes or so. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a free 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. Okay, fellas, final preseason game officially in the books. Lots to dissect, winners, losers, position battles, bubble guys, all that stuff. It's kind of hilarious how much can change in just a few weeks. I pulled up my show notes from preseason game 1, Vikes Raiders, Will Reichert, walk-off winner. Half my notes from week 1 were Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. Obviously not the case today. You knew all the starters wouldn't be playing, and then even some of the second teamers, but still a massive day, massive opportunity for a lot of these bubble guys. Try to make one more kind of lasting impression, if you will, on the coaching staff before cutdown day, which is coming up. Don't blink. This Tuesday afternoon, that's when every team has to be down to their final 53. Ron, let's just start with you. Let's start with the quarterback, actually. Jaren Hall got a ton of run today, maybe cemented his flag as this quarterback 3 on this team, maybe solidified one of those 53 spots on the roster, because I'm not so sure he's making it past waivers anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the throws he made. I think early on he was like 13 for 16. Again, you got to look at the level he was playing, the defensive guys he was facing. Was it some of the top talent? No. But at the end of the day, they put the guys in front of him. He lined them up and he did what he had to do. So I think that's all you can ask of a quarterback that is not going to play. You know, like he's not going to play. It's going to be Sam Darnold. If Sam Darnold gets hurt, it's going to be Nick Mullins. He is your third quarterback. The goal is, can he get you through, practices? Can he give you some show looks? Do you feel comfortable in 5 weeks or 6 weeks if he has to play because all hell broke loose and 2 guys got hurt? Yes. But I think he did show that he is better right now than Matt Corral, and I think that's all they were looking for is, can he go in there and look like an NFL quarterback? And he did.
Yeah, Luke, it's crazy because 2 weeks ago, entering that Raider game, we weren't sure if he was even going to make the team. Can they sneak him on the practice squad?
Yeah, the numbers changed.
Yeah, numbers changed, of course, but kind of feels like a stone cold lock now at this point. But more so than just the numbers changing, he looked like a little bit different of a quarterback. And Ron's right. To Ron's point, you got to pay attention to who he's facing out there defensively. But sharp, efficient, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, almost 200 yards. I really felt like he maybe took a baby step today as far as just getting some real live action.
Yeah, because even more than he's competing with Matt Corral for that kind of that third QB slot, whether it's on the 53 or getting elevated from the practice squad, I think more so you're competing against guys that are going to get cut that maybe, the team had a high draft grade on or something like that. Mm-hmm. Some kind of waiver claim that'll maybe, you'll get replaced with. Some of these guys, especially position battles where nobody showed out. Sometimes they get replaced by somebody who, ends up off of somebody else's 53 that you poach. But yeah, I thought that crucially for Jaren Hall, I don't really care about the level of competition, right? What I care about is, did you look comfortable? Did you execute things on time the way they're supposed to look? And I think that he checked that box. And against a lower level of competition, it's going to look really sharp and dynamic because those guys are going to be really loose with all their spacing and stuff like that. But really what you care about is, was everything timed right? And everything looked timed pretty right. So they could really, drive down the field, easy peasy.
Yeah, it feels like in today's day and age, patience wears thin pretty quick. But sometimes, again, you need some of these developmental guys, whether it's quarterback or any other position, to have time to get live reps and develop. I just was really encouraged by what we saw from Jaren Hall today. Maybe the biggest battle on offense, the wide receiver room. You got about 4, if not 5 guys all vying for that 6 spot. And that's if they even keep 6 instead of 5, which, we just won't know until Tuesday. Tristan Jackson, though, guys, feels like he's earned that number 5 spot over Sherfield. That's not maybe even like a lukewarm take at this point, is it, Luke?
No. I think that there's like a big gap between Tristan and then whoever is going in for number 6. I would probably say that Lucky Jackson is leader in the clubhouse for that now going in. If you're going to keep a 6th guy, maybe you keep 2 on the practice squad or something. But yeah, that's probably Lucky now for me over Trent Sherfield. What I liked about Trent Sherfield was blocking, but that holding call really hurts. And then, yeah, a couple of other nice plays in the first half getting a little bit of production. But for him, I think mostly it's blocking. And what might be the thing that lands him on the 53 outside of Lucky Jackson would be special teams. I wouldn't be super shocked to have that. But just from scrimmage, I think Lucky Jackson has done a little more. Had that unbelievable catch on the guy's helmet.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you brought up special teams. Obviously, in preseason, especially this last third preseason game, special teams plays a huge factor for a lot of these guys if they're going to make this final 53. Ron, what's your final assessment of this wide receiver group as far as who's in, who's out, maybe who's some of the top candidates for the practice squad, if you had to guess after what you saw today?
I didn't even need to see today, to be honest. I've said it from the start. I thought it was Tristan Jackson, Jalen Naylor, Jordan Addison. The only thing that's going to help one of these receivers, like 6 or whatever, is if they know that Jordan Addison's injury is worse than what they're saying it is, like he's going to maybe be extended timeout. And then they might keep a 5th guy if Jordan Addison has to go in the pup. Because we know the Vikings for years. I mean, it's not even just this regime. It's just been the Vikings. They always try to downplay injuries. And then all of a sudden it comes up and they're like, oh, yeah, he's out for, 6 weeks. So that's the only other way for one of these other guys to crack the lineup. But it's Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, Tristan Jackson, and then Brandon Powell. I think that's your 5 receivers. Trent Sherfield and Lucky Jackson, I think they're neck and neck. Trent Sherfield might have an edge because they gave him a 2-year contract. But again, even if they cut him, there's not a lot on the books for them to worry about. At that point, it's more of, hey, we were hoping to sign you long-term and get you for cheap if you worked out. But if you don't work out, we can cut you and we have no problem with it.
Yeah, good breakdown there. I think some more heated conversations on the defensive side of the ball, but just to wrap up offensively, anything else stick out to you guys? Tight end room, running backs, obviously, that feels pretty set in stone. Ron, your guy, local legend, Mo Ibrahim, who has some run with the Vikings. That was pretty cool to see, but don't think anything really changed in the running back room. Tight ends, it's kind of tough to say anything changed as well. Offensive line is just kind of tough to evaluate in the trenches, just in real live time. So probably circle back to some of that on Monday or Thursday on the football party, unless anything jumped out to either of you guys in any of those 3 positions.
Nothing about the tight ends. It does feel a little bit like if you were already going to make the team, you didn't play. Kenny Nwangwu doesn't play. Nick Muse doesn't play. Those guys that, are 3rd on their depth chart, but they made the team, and I think we're really using this to solve our roster bubble problems. Will be interesting to watch some of that first O-line, that first quarter, second quarter O-line, to see exactly what they do on that interior between Michael Juergens, Dan Feeney, all those guys, and see if anybody really made it there. Walter Rouse gave up a pretty rough sack. I think maybe like seeing a stunt where there wasn't a stunt, or maybe there was a mistake in what the pass pro was because he just didn't get like any depth, like weirdly. And gave up a rough sack there, but I think he had done more than enough to be, on the roster. Plus, he's being a draft pick. It's
yeah,
easy.
Good. Yeah. Well said there. Good breakdown. Plenty left to discuss. We got to flip over to the defensive side of the ball. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder: today's episode brought to us by BetterHelp. When your schedule is packed with your kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip, even when we know what makes us happy. Sometimes it's hard to make time for it, but when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, time to give BetterHelp a try. Entirely online, and it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched up with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Okay, let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. I think there's a lot more drama, a lot more big decisions to be made, just big picture, top to bottom. Let's start in the trenches, maybe tackles, pass rushers. Ron, it kind of felt like Andre Carter had found himself on the outside looking in, heading into the week. Obviously, Dallas Turner, Grenard, Van Ginkel, Pat Jones all ahead of him. Plus, Jihad Ward seems to be higher than him on the depth chart as well. He flashed a little bit today, though, made a splash play or two with that strip sack. Enough to keep him around, though, or at minimum, does it get him back on the practice squad when this is all said and done? How's this edge group going to shake out, do you think, Ron?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. I think Bo Richter even was in the conversation. I don't know if he's on the 53 or practice squad. So
We got Robot Ron here.
Maybe gives him more of an edge. What?
Breaking up a little bit, Ron.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm driving. But when you talk about Andre Carter being a veteran, he gives you a little bit more as a veteran than some of these younger guys, and they've seen him against, top talent, number ones. So I think, even though Jihad Ward seemed like he had played up there, Andre Carter seemed like he was on the outs. It's going to be one of those decisions tonight that I think might lean in his favor when they watch the tape back.
Luke, anything to kind of just touch on with edges? But next question, I was going to ask you about the defensive tackles. Last year, they kept 5 defensive tackles. I know we talked about on the football party on Thursday, Jerry Tillery, possible surprise cut.
I don't know what you guys are on about with that. He hasn't played. He's a starter, dude. I think that Tillery in camp has won. He's been with the first team all preseason, all camp. Hasn't played in the preseason. I think he's just won that kind of rotational third guy role where you'll have Harrison Phillips and Bullard in as on all the forefronts. But beyond that, yeah, the D-line is so interesting. And the thing about D-line is that your good plays show up in the box score, but your bad plays do not. Right. And that's going to be the thing about with Andre Carter this week. Couple of good plays on the sacks, and I think a good one chasing down backside of a zone. But then there were some really rough moments of not placing yourself correctly, going too far upfield. A lot of edges had a problem with that today, going too far upfield, and then giving up those kind of cutback lanes, or just giving up like the B gap on zone, and the run goes exactly where Philly wants it to go. I thought it was really interesting how Flores rotated them, because you basically had the same group of 5 or 6 people all game long, and like Jaquel and Roy played in the first quarter and the fourth quarter, and so did, Tyler Manoa and Taki Taimani. Like all these guys were rotated. So I think that is very much, hey, this is even, and whoever gets whatever practice squad slots or whatever, bottom of the roster spots we have is up for grabs. Somebody go take it and go have a day. The Jalen Redmond with that amazing fumble, that's, to me, I thought he had a very nice day. Levi Drake Rodriguez had the almost batted a ball down, had the face mask, got to be a little bit cleaner about that, but also did have a batted ball, had some other really good, did a great job just pushing the pocket. A lot of, God, it's really hard, I think, to predict who is in this group. And I could definitely see the Vikings just saying, F it, we'll keep 10.
Ron, sometimes we get a little too enthralled with just preseason action, but Levi Drake, to Luke's point, man, he's flashed quite a bit. Do you think he ultimately makes this final 53-man roster?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Vikings PR tipped their hat a little bit because they mic'd him up for one of the games, and you don't mic up a rookie you're going to cut. So I think that he plays so well in minicamp and OTAs, and then leading up until game one. And again, to get mic'd up content, it has to be okayed by the team and PR and Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi. They okay all the decisions that PR makes, that the entertainment team does. So I would be very surprised if you decide to mic up a rookie and then cut him. That to me would be 100, as the kids would say, that's diabolical. Like, that's nasty.
It would mean you changed your mind on him. And how after those 2 games would you change your mind for the worse? Yeah.
Yeah, not enough. Yeah,
that'd be diabolical to do that, to like mic him up week one and not feel like, okay, we were going to keep him anyway. I would be very shocked if that happened. So no, I think he has a spot on the 53. But yeah, and you're right, Luke. I don't think he did anything in the last 2 weeks to change their mind.
No, I mean, he had a great last 2 weeks. So if anything, he's moving up if he wasn't already. But yeah, like that implies that you already kind of have an intention and you like him. Yeah,
well said. Stock pointed up for sure. Inside linebacker kind of feels like they've, the plan all along. Keep 4, Pace, Cashman, Asamoah Kamu, not much movement there. Last one, probably the most intriguing, though. We got to spend a couple minutes on this. If not for just the simple fact they brought in so many bodies in this secondary the last 3-4 weeks. I'm kind of throwing all the corners and safeties just into one giant pool here. Kind of feels like that's what the coaches are looking at some of these guys as well. But let's just start with the A topic. I think everybody wants to know your 2022 first-round pick, Lewis Cine. Monster game last week, filled the stat sheet. Luke, I know you had a great breakdown on why maybe the numbers, the box score numbers didn't necessarily tell the whole story, but I think I know your answer here. I'm going to ask it anyways. Does Lewis Cine, did he do enough to stick around on the final 53, or is his career in purple officially over after today?
I think if I had to guess, we're still looking at like some kind of 6-7 swap trade move. Mm-hmm. But I could see it, a good play on a punt return, a really big hit on a punt return, and that special teams makes a team, right? Like, I think that involvement matters a lot. You might keep him on the 53 over that. And just, any excuse to give another year of development and see if you can't get some value out of that first round pick, they'll be, very primed to do that. So I wouldn't be shocked at all. If I had to guess, I still say no. But I don't think that this game moves the needle one way or another. I think he was okay. I think he was fine. He had I think a couple of slow moves in coverage, like a couple of times a little bit later than he should be to the flat or just to like make the play he was trying to make. But also a couple of really positive moments in the flats, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and call it kind of a 0-out game. And really focus on special teams and see if that'll get you dressed on game days.
Yeah, Ron, I don't remember getting your take or which side of the fence you're at here with this Lewis Cine conversation. Is it close for you? Is this a tough projection for you after today or even last week, more so specifically? Like, which side of the fence are you on with Lewis Cine?
Yeah, it's tough for me. I'm biased because when he was drafted, I met him the day he signed his contract. He and I kind of clicked, and he came on the Ron Johnson show. So I'm biased. I'm very biased. I would like to have him around. I haven't been able to interview him since because he's been hurt or not playing. I would be excited if he was able to make it another year to kind of follow back up and get him back on and talk about the journey, the journey from, maybe losing a leg to, or losing parts of a leg, no feeling. There's all kinds of things that can happen with that gruesome of an injury to, being back. And like Luke said, being a big part of special teams. There's nothing wrong with being on special teams and being a big part of it. Look at Slater. Matthew Slater had 1 catch, and I think the kid played, 18 years or some crap, or 15. Like, he played a long freaking time and had 1 catch. And he was a special teams guy. He was a locker room guy. Belichick loved to have him around. Tom Brady wanted to have him around. Gerard Mayo loved him so much as a teammate that he gave him a job as his right-hand man for the Patriots. And so I hope Lewis Cine can do that, fulfill that role as a great teammate, special teams guy. And last year they kept 6 safeties. Right now I got them at 5. Lewis Cine is not one of them. But I could see him being a 6th safety as maybe special teams because with Najee Thompson getting hurt, they do need a special teams DB.
Such a different conversation if we didn't have 4 capable safeties already on the roster. Like, kind of almost unlucky for Lewis Cine. If you're Lewis Cine, just being stuck behind 4 capable safeties as is. And you're right, Ron, like after last week, it was easy to kind of buy into this, reclamation project, if you will? Can he turn things around? Can he salvage this thing? Could there still be a happy ending that we all wanted? But again, knowing you've already got the big three, knowing how much they love Theo Jackson, to Luke's point, unfortunately, there's just such little room for an extra safety, and just knowing full well, barring an injury, the only time you're really going to see Lewis Cine this year would be on special teams if he makes it. I got two more for you, two more quick ones. Jay Ward and Dwight McGlothern. A lot of conversation about both those guys. Who's in, who's out? Just best guess, knee-jerk reaction. Honestly, I'm rooting for both of them. I hope there's a world where they both make it. I don't think there is. But, Ron, start with you. Jay Ward, Dwight McGlothern. Did the needle move at all today? And which one if you had to pick one?
I would say Jay Ward, just because I've seen them use him a little bit at corner and safety.
Yeah.
So I feel like just from a positional standpoint of, like, Brian Flores knows neither of those guys are going to be one of his top four. So it's like, if I need to use a guy, can I use him in multiple spots? And I think Jay Ward gives you that.
Luke, Dwight McGlothern, Jay Ward. What's the temperature at, I guess, for you in both those guys?
The thing for me with Jay Ward is him at corner, I think, was a failed experiment. I do not think he took any reps at corner today. True. I think they said, okay, we tried it, and you're really back at safety. And I mean, for me, McGlothern has done so much. He's been really sound in the flat. He's been really sound in coverage. I think he's done plenty to force his way onto this roster. And considering that a lot of the roster pressures kind of gotten hurt or left the roster, like, I mean, it's, you're not keeping Nahshon Wright over him, So I think it's easy to find that in the math, to find the space for him. And I do think that it's more about, do you keep Cine or Ward? And yeah, that's tough for me. I'm a little 50-50 on it. I could see both those guys, both Ward and McGlothern, making it if you get a trade partner for Cine. But yeah, yes, it's tough.
But
I think a lot of the other interesting names that have kind of fallen away. Jalen Williams had a catastrophe of a drive. You have nothing out of like Nahshon Wright, nothing out of like Duke Shelley, and all those guys kind of falling away. And now it really comes down to like one or two guys, and this roster is really solidifying. I thought a lot of the cream rose today.
Yeah, well said. Gilmore was a nice signing. I mean, we all know it. They just needed a guy who can just line up and cover man-to-man, but dude's 33 years old. I just got to imagine that they know they need to start developing more young cover cornerbacks in that room as well, which makes me think, as much as I did have high hopes for Jay Ward, especially after last preseason, I think if I had to pick one guy, I think I would also lean McGlothern, and I think he gets the final nod Tuesday afternoon. That's just my gut feeling there. One more quick segment. We'll do a little quick sneak peek at Week 1 versus the New York Giants. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode also brought to us by LinkedIn, because when you start hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the job, right? Well, then LinkedIn is a no-brainer. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools you need to help you find the right professionals for your team faster, and it's for free, because at the end of the day, LinkedIn is going to give you access to professionals you just can't find anywhere else, and they do all that while also making the process easy and intuitive. So easy, in fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate match within just 24 hours. Try it today. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. LinkedIn, terms and conditions apply. Hey, before I forget, before we get out of here, KOC on the mic that third quarter, I thought it was fantastic, man. Inject that into my veins. All three, actually, in the preseason, now that I think about it. JJ, Harry, KOC. If I had to pick one, though, I would love to hear KOC in a booth every Sunday someday. Anybody disagree? Or what was your favorite part of the KOC third quarter interview? I feel like there's a lot to choose from.
I was sadly stuck with the Eagles broadcast.
Oh, you didn't hear it? Oh.
Yeah.
Dude,
out of market. I'll have to go catch up on it later.
It was solid.
So,
it was
Luke,
solid.
This is what I'll say. I understand your love for KOC.
Sure.
I would not put him in the booth just yet.
Okay.
He has some. He's very raw. He has to learn that he can't just say whatever he wants when he's on the mic. If it's like, he started talking to players. He started like talking about he's about to say something.
Hey, he's multitasking here. I got to give him a little bit of rope here. He was multitasking.
You wanted to talk to the ref, and it was like, oh, wait. I can't say it yet. I don't know
was
who's
so
watching
good.
me. It's
I
like,
loved it.
dude, like you don't have to say everything on your mind. But you know what? No, I do like the authentic of that. The
Yeah.
fact that like he wasn't polished and that he was like that Jaron Hall got hit and he's like, oh, that. Oh wait, I can't say that. I'm mic'd up.
I'm
Like
mic'd up. Yeah.
like he was about to say, and he's like, I don't know who's listening right now. Like, what do you mean who? Everybody. Like,
Dude.
what are you talking about? I don't know who's listening right now.
The Dwight McGlothern nickel cornerback blitz where he had McKee wrapped up and PA's screaming in KOC's ear going, hey, what? That should be a sack. Go talk to the refs. What? And he goes, you know what, PA, you're right. And he walks over to the ref and starts jawing at him, go, what's the deal, man? I just love that they implemented this preseason. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought all three were phenomenal. And I hope that's a part of the NFL moving forward because I think it just brings a whole another element to the game. Go ahead.
The one cool one was when he was calling he got sacked, Matt Corral, but he was trying to talk about the Sam Mack blitz or the Sam Mike blitz. Mm-hmm. And he was like, we call that smack and blah, blah. So it was kind of cool to get that insight and to say, and then Bursch's like, yeah, because that receiver should have been hot. And he's like, yeah, but that's a lot to throw at a guy that's only been here for 5 days. He got hit though, like he's gonna learn it. So that was kind of cool to say. You can hear him say like, hey, be aware of the Sam Mike blitz. It's coming, blah, blah. Here's what you got to do. And then you got sacked. So, he could see it before it happened, but it was nothing he could do about it. And I think that was cool.
Yeah, I loved it, man. Love the whole concept. Love how they implemented it. I thought top to bottom, I just thought it was a really cool experiment. Quick sneak peek. Last one before we get out of here. Quick sneak peek. Giants game week 1, 2 weeks from tomorrow. I know a lot of us just can't wait. What's just one thing you're most looking forward to finding out when it comes to just finally seeing this Vikings team in action with all 22 starters for 4 full quarters? Luke, I'll start with you. One thing you're just intrigued, can't wait to just finally a question you can't wait to get answered.
There's so much tempered hype with Sam Darnold. Where he looks kind of good in camp, but it's just camp, but it's just he had a good preseason, but it's just preseason. Like everybody chill out. Like let's get the rubber to meet the road and see if he can string together an entire game of looking as good as he did in that one preseason drive. And the consistency that you want from him, right? Let's see if we can get a calmer Sam Darnold that can take care of the football in a way he never did with the Jets or even Panthers. Let me get that. I'm getting an echo. Echo. Yeah. But like, let me get that question answered.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I'm with you, man. It's the offensive identity. I just want to know how much this defense is going to have to carry this offense this season. That's obviously not to say one game is going to dictate that. It's a long season. It's a grind. Just like we saw last year, there's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows, both on offense and defense. But I can't wait to see what this offense looks like in action with Sam Darnold under center. And then game within the game, Dexter Lawrence, got to stop him. He can wreck games. Ron, one thing you're just intrigued about, a question you can't wait to finally have answered, week 1 versus the Giants.
These linebackers, like what is this rush going to look like? Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace Jr., Dallas Turner, Jonathan Grenard, and Andrew Van Ginkel. Like I really want to see what Brian Flores does with those guys. Because we've heard so much about what they can do. We've heard a lot about this youthful movement. Let's see it happen.
Yeah, Ron sounds like he's doing a linebacker workout right now, mugging the A-gap, running down the K-Fan hallways. We better get out of here. Always fun talking Vikes with you guys. Vikes 2024 season officially underway 2 weeks from tomorrow. Preseason game number 3 officially in the books. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game right here, breaking it all down. Go check out all of Luke's work each and every day on Locked On Vikings. Ron Johnson on the Ron Johnson Show every Tuesday. Plus, check out the full crew on the Minnesota Football Party every Monday and Thursday. Go like this video, subscribe to the channel. So close to 8,000 subscribers. That's always much, much appreciated. All right, that'll do it for us. Luke Braun, Ron Johnson, Luke Inman on X, at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you next time. But until then, signing out.